So what I want to talk about is, so we're pretty early in our implementation of Personetics. But before we even got to the place where we could talk about technology and where we wanted to invest, one of the things that we've looked at here pretty consistently is when we're considering technology investments, we should first understand what it is that we're trying to accomplish. When we think about and that begins even earlier. So at Bank of Hawaii, we've developed a customer experience or CX framework that's been in development for we're approaching about 5 years now. And some of the key components of that framework really focus on how we think about that customer experience with us. So the framework pillars are value me, know me, advise me, and inspire me. And when we consider how we can accomplish that, having that vision, that North Star, is then what becomes really critical as we think about all the options that are out there in terms of technology investment, particularly in the digital space. If we start with that framework, and of course there's more detail behind it, but if we start with that framework and use that as our North Star, it then helps us not be enamored by the shiny new capabilities of a technology, and then we don't get driven by technology capability or the promise of capabilities. We actually now have a sense of the job to be done and the goal that we're aiming for. And now we can make decisions about which technology is going to be best suited to help us accomplish that. And I think that's an important note, at least as I think about where I've seen other financial institutions do this. For Bank of Hawaii, I really appreciate that we've developed as an organization. It's really in the DNA. We have to understand what it is that we're trying to accomplish. And so for us, it really became, particularly as we looked at updating our mobile and online experience, understanding and being able to particularly answer that question of how well do we know and then advise our customers. And in that scenario, Jody said it, Personetics is a leader in the industry around exactly that capability. So that was really what we were thinking about in terms of the need for personalization and the need to be able to demonstrate to our customers that we know them so that we then can ultimately advise them. And not only does it help us understand who they are and make product and service recommendations, but the other thing that I think is really, and it depends on who you talk to, but whether it's a primary or considered to be a secondary benefit, is it engages the customers. Meaningful insights give the customer something to come back and look for. So where they may not normally be logging in with as much frequency, this gives those consumers who may not have the pattern or the behavior to be logging into their banking system or their online and mobile on a regular basis, aside from checking their balance, this actually gives them something more. So it keeps them in, it keeps them engaged. And the longer they're in front of us, the more opportunity we have to engage with them. When we think about the question has come up because we can go direct to Personetics. We could one thing that we really appreciated about the fact that there is the Personetics module within FIS. Again, keep in mind this is a decision that's been in the works, and this strategy we've like many financial institutions, we've really attempted to be thoughtful and take our time and make the right decision here. One of the things that actually was really powerful for us, particularly from at the time our risk management posture, was the fact that Personetics was embedded within our core. It was already there within FIS. So we didn't have to create another independent connection to another third party. We didn't have the need to worry about data transfer and moving back and forth because it was all within FIS. So that partnership that Personetics has with FIS made that decision even stronger, made the case even stronger for us. But at the end of the day, what it really allows us to do, again, is really put the emphasis around through the fact that we can engage with that customer. We have our out-of-the-box insights that we can leverage. The interesting part is, like, there's a fair amount in there. I think we have access to currently more than 50, and I believe the next round we're going to see as we continue to use the engagement builder and expand that work, we're going to see that increase to more than 60. So that's really powerful. But the engagement builder piece in particular, the ability for us to create custom insights, is really meaningful because there are things then that we can control relative to messaging and the way that we reach out to our customers. that's been a really there's a sort of another component to that we're working through, and that I find to be maybe a bit challenging within the organization. I know our sales teams and our product teams are really anxious to leverage this as a sales channel, and so we're being very thoughtful about how we want to use this the insights and the insights portal, because we don't want it to ever feel to the customer like it's just another place for us to be pushing products and services. Even if they are meaningful and insightful, we don't want it to be the place that we run our campaigns through. And that's, there's some expectation that we've had to reset around the organization around it. But again, it comes with putting that customer experience at the forefront and making that the most important piece of what we do. And that really gets to this experience. Like we want the insights, both the ones that come out of the box and the ones that we develop, to be focused around, excuse me, how do we help our customers not just know better about the things, but also give them some direction around the right way and the decisions that they should be making. So it really does, and these are not in any way a surprise to anyone. Again, I think that there's some really tried and true components to it. The key really becomes, now then, how do we guide them? We show them this, a lot of this will be like, yeah, I should have a budget. I should spend less on this. I should save more in this area. That's not something that most people really struggle with. The struggle is, okay, well, what do I do about it? How do I do these things? And that's where, in my mind, this gives us the ability, and for a customer, having, if there were no outreach and no recommendations and insights previously, and now they're getting something, that already feels tremendously better to the consumer. And the bank now is finally able to be and do more of what consumers expect from us. I've said this before, where most general consumers don't know a whole lot about finances, but they know that we know a lot about their finances, so they expect us to do a better job of giving them smart recommendations and guidance that help them improve that financial situation. So again, for me, it's really the thing that I love about this is the opportunity for us to actually create that engagement, to educate them, to help not just say, here's a situation, good luck, we hope you make the right decision. It really is, here's a situation, here are some options, and here's what we would recommend for you. And that's the component of this. It also becomes one of my things that I really love is the ability for so for example, you look to the right, what does this look like? How much did you spend on dining or eating out in this month? Or what do you look like on average? This is good because it helps, like this is one part of it. The next stage for us as we start thinking about building our own insights is using this, but then potentially getting to the place where we can say, and other customers like you, this is their average spend. I think a lot of us have seen examples of this, particularly in our power bills, in other areas. There's tons of use cases that talk about how motivating that is when someone can see, where am I? Like, I know where I'm at, but am I doing good or bad? I don't really have any idea because I don't have any reference. If we can provide, even in a small degree, a reference to them, that becomes really powerful as they then can make different decisions based on that. So those are just some of the things that we're looking at Bank of Hawaii. We're most of the way through our initial customer launch, but we've started to get some really good information out and seen some good engagement relative to the insights that we've provided. And the last thing that I'll really speak to is, as we think about this, again, using the data, extending the insights in which we can bring, or the data sets that we can bring into it to create the insights. It says hyper-personalized advice, and I think that that's absolutely accurate. That's something we should move to, but don't, for the sake of progress, or, perfection over progress, don't forsake the fact that, as I was saying before, if a customer's never had any insights and we're giving them something, even if that advice is 1 to 100,000, if it's just a data point that actually applies to every customer, like everybody should save more, everybody could afford to spend less in a particular area, that still feels really good to those customers. The key becomes, you can't continue to only provide those bits of advice, and you can't recycle those over and over and over again. That's why the work, I think, for us is, how do we build more, a bigger library of our own insights that matter? and there'll be things that matter to every consumer, but then there'll be some things that are very specific to our market and the unique challenges that we feel like we face in our market. There will be, as with anything, I think this is going to provide us a very actionable, and only within a degree or two of measurable ROI based on the results that we get, all to continue to feed that flywheel of understanding of our customers so we can provide better recommendations. I'll just say, I think that at the end of the day, I know in our market, and frankly, in any market that any of you are in, it's not about, like, there are some elements where it's who has the better rate, who has the better incentive, the better accounts, services, who has the most branches, who doesn't offer fees. Like, that's a part of it. But I think at the end of the day, where the real, like, the next um, battlefield, if you will, or the next challenge that we have to solve for is who knows our customers better and is able to actually meet those needs effectively. So this is so critical for us to start filling in those tiny gaps, sometimes big, but tiny gaps of who our customers are, so that we can demonstrate again a better understanding of them, and then use our expertise as financial service and, as bankers to then help improve their lives. So I'll leave it with that. That's, again, something that in our area, we're not just obviously trying to deploy a capability. We also want to see how this improves where we go from here. And that's it. Isabel, thank you.
Thanks so much, David. And before we move on, we did get a question here, so I want to make sure that's over to you. So now that your personalization insights are set up, what do you plan to do next with that data?
So for us, we've built out some personas. That's a great question. Again, it speaks to, like, not just what we're doing here, but how we look to the future. We've built out personas that what we anticipate is that these insights will help us in one area confirm the assumptions we've made about these personas, and deepen our understanding of what motivates our customers, so that we can refine those and do a better job of, again, just enhancing and sort of expanding. If you think about a picture of anything, like you just have a pencil drawing of a tree, um, uh, from there to, a hyper realistic acrylic and oil painting of a tree that you look at and you think is a photo. For us, it's about increasing the fidelity as we work to understand. So it really is staged and stepped into that. But these insights, again, are going to be vital for us. The other thing we're looking at is then, how do we take those actions and the responses that we're getting from customers? So the output data on the back end for the bank is an area where we're super focused in. And what does it mean, and what decisions can we make at an aggregate level when we see what kind of recommendations that Personetics is making broadly to customers? Then how are they responding to those? And does that influence, or should it influence, product and service development in that roadmap, or even in what we offer today? So the goal is really not just about how do I make sure my customers feel like we know them, but then on the in those moments and in those interactions, but then on the back end, what are we doing with that, and how does that interplay with our strategy? Again, particularly in our experience, our CX, but also in our product and service offerings.